We have some huge news to go over today as the Pittsburgh Steelers have made multiple moves that have huge implications going forward and ahead of what's going to be a crucial game this Sunday. We have some wild moves being made, but not only that, we have a bombshell update surrounding Aaron Rodgers' future in Pittsburgh that you're going to want to stay till the very end for, because this changes everything as it pertains to not only this season, but heading into following season regarding the Steelers quarterback position. A ton to go over, folks. Before we get into it all, if you're a part of the 67 or so percent who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. You guys have an absolute beast of the support, folks. Ton to go over today. And obviously, we know the Steelers have a big game on Sunday. You're going up against a very good Packers team. But I want to start with a pretty big update that has dropped surrounding Aaron Rodgers. And this dropped earlier this afternoon. And then we're going to dive into multiple moves that the Steelers have made ahead of the game this Sunday. But there was a new report by Jeremy Fowler revealing that not only are the Steelers obviously loving Aaron Rodgers' play thus far this season, they are fully willing and want to bring him back next year. Quote, the Steelers will still scour the draft market for the QB of the future for sure. They are already doing so. But if you ask people with the team whether they'd entertain the notion of Rodgers in the black and gold next year, the answer would be a resounding yes. He has maintained his elite ability to throw the football. So folks, in a bit of a surprising turn of events here, the Pittsburgh Steelers are willing and wanting to go ahead and, of course, bring back Aaron Rodgers next year. Now, we'll have full videos covering this. I don't want to dive into it too much because, of course, there's bigger things to worry about in this very moment, which is this season. But Aaron Rodgers has been nothing short of fantastic this year. Really, really good. And I would love to bring him back next year. And, of course, still, look for your quarterback of the future. The quarterback class next year is not supposed to be very good. The smartest play would probably be to go ahead and keep him in the system, bring him back next season, and then obviously beyond that, look for your quarterback of the future in 2027. See if any trades come up and things like that. But you can't go wrong in a world where teams are fielding Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, guys like that. Bring Aaron Rodgers back. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. I would love to see him in the black and gold again next year. But let's see how the rest of the year finishes up because, again, we're only 7 games into the season. Or I guess 6 games into the season. So seeing how things will go heading into, of course, next week will be absolutely crucial. Now, a few other things to go over as well here. Obviously, the Steelers, they have a big game this Sunday. And ahead of that, they've made multiple moves. So let's start with the update on recently drafted Will Heyward. So they have made a significant move with him. We know the Pittsburgh Steelers indicated with the release of quarterback Logan Woodside, that one of their injured quarterbacks could be close to returning. And Will Heyward, the Steelers, have officially opened their 21-day practice window for the quarterback to return from the IR. Now, of course, he is the third-string quarterback for this team. You have Mason Rudolph and, of course, Aaron Rodgers at number 1. But seeing Will Heyward officially have his practice window opened up is very exciting, as this allows him to actually start throwing footballs again. This move will allow Heyward to return to the practice field. The Steelers now have 3 weeks to activate the rookie quarterback from injured reserve. And if not, by November 12th, they will have to put him on the IR for the rest of the year. And of course, he's the most recent draft pick, quarterback-wise, number 185th overall, and obviously fractured his pinky there early in August. But this is pretty, exciting. And now again, is he going to be their quarterback of the future? Probably not. But this is somebody who can learn behind guys like Aaron Rodgers, and I guess Mason Rudolph to agree, but Aaron Rodgers. And if they're bringing him back next year, maybe they try to groom Will Heyward into the future quarterback of this team. Again, for now, he's going to be the QB3. We would assume that Mason Rudolph is ahead of him according to everything, but he hasn't played a lot this year. He's the experienced backup quarterback, but it'll be interesting to see what Will Heyward can do learning from Aaron Rodgers and then how that dictates the future for him if they draft another quarterback. Again, he wasn't a highly touted prospect, wasn't drafted super highly, but at the same time, 185th overall, you never really know. Quarterbacks are going crazy recently with some guys who are late in the first round and things like that. Obviously, Howard's a bit of a different situation, but exciting to have him back, and we'll keep you up to date every step of the way with him as things start to get closer and closer to his actual return. And of course, the 21-day window is now open ahead of this weekend's game against the Bengals. But speaking of other moves, the Steelers have officially waived O-liner Gareth Warren. So he was, of course, on the reserve/injured list on up until today, which is Wednesday, October 22nd here. And Gareth Warren has officially been released/waived. So we know, or if you're unfamiliar, he was, of course, a undrafted player, rookie free agent out of FCS Lindenwood, and he landed on the injured reserve after suffering a concussion after attempting to make a tackle during a preseason game. We saw him briefly in that preseason game. Obviously cleared waivers this summer. Pittsburgh placed him on the IR. Now deemed healthy, he's officially gone from the Pittsburgh Steelers, which isn't obviously shocking, but we are pretty thin regarding our tackle depth. clearly Gareth Williams didn't make enough of a splash there in training camp and throughout his career in the preseason to make the roster, because we know he had an injury early on in camp, got a concussion, all these different things. He was now, he was at right tackle towards the end of the preseason, I believe. So even though he played left tackle in college, going to be interesting to see what happens with him going forward. But for as it pertains to the actual Steelers side of things, he's gone, no longer here, and in what was a pretty big day of roster moves here, he's officially gone after his IL stint, and now, of course, Will Heyward is going to be returning as well, which is obviously very different players, but some interesting notes as of there, and some more information on him. Feel free to pause and read. A lot of competition, of course, in the tackle spot, and Heyward and Harrison are back. Well, Harrison, that is. So at a time where the Steelers are dealing with some injuries, we know, of course, Will Howard's been injured. You can see some of the other guys there. Miles Killebrew is done for the year. Hopefully, Calvin Austin, like I covered in my video earlier today, will be returning from injury very, very shortly. A lot of moves, a lot of injuries. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Of course, having a rough camp for Warren made it difficult for him to make the team. Now, a couple other things before we wrap up here. Let's dive into the most recent injury report for the game on Sunday. A few different things to go over here. As you can see here, TJ Watt was resting. He's going to be available. Same with Cam Warren. Zach Frazier, the center, was limited with a calf injury, and there is some other guys as well. Of course, Calvin Austin is expected to play, like probable. I don't think there's an official designation for him, but you can see here, technically on the CBS, I think this is, or ESPN chart, he doesn't have an injury designation anymore, but I would assume he's still going to be questionable. All signs point to him playing at, of course, against the Cincinnati Bengals, and he was recently asked about playing at the surface at that stadium by Brooke Pryor, and he said, "I'm not a grass expert. I haven't cut my own grass in a long, long time. I'm going to stay in my lane. I don't even know who cuts my grass." Now, if you're unfamiliar with this, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers play in this stadium. They're hosting the Packers. Sorry, I said the Bengals. They're hosting the Packers. They beat the Bengals last week, but they're hosting the Packers on Sunday. And there's been a lot of discourse about both current Steelers, former Steelers, a lot of other teams complaining about the grass at our stadium. I mean, obviously, we're not there. Like, a lot of us watching aren't privy to that. Funny comment by Tomlin. He's not going to comment on it. It's probably a real concern here. A lot of fans out there are saying clearly there's been enough concern, like with specific evidence, that makes this a bit of a worry. But at the end of the day, Tomlin spoke out on it, and it's going to be interesting there. And some funny thing before I wrap up as well, Aaron Rodgers spoke out on being tackled against, of course, the Bengals by Broderick Jones following an insane touchdown. He said, "Hey, man, I love your energy. I love everything you're about. But also, I'm 41, okay? You can't be out there tackling me like that, but I love Brod." And of course, Broderick Jones, we all love him. Obviously, he tackled Aaron Rodgers. It's going to happen. Emotion's going to take over. Rodgers looks like a grumpy 41-year-old, which I guess he is or was at that time. But Rodgers looks great still. I love the enthusiasm of Broderick Jones. Go ahead and win the game against the Packers. Send a message. You have TJ Watt. The defense needs to step up. Jalen Ramsey needs to step up. Darius Slay, everyone. You're paying this defense so much. You made the trades in the offseason for Slay. You acquired Jalen Ramsey. Yes, they're old or older, but you need to take care of business here. You recently extended TJ Watt. Of course, the edge rusher. Get to work. Take care of business. See you guys later.